Coming up on SportsNight.
Northwestern football faces off against Illinois.
Men's basketball took on Quincy.
Women's basketball took on Lewis.
Welcome back to SportsNight. Thank you so much for joining us. Abbie, it's your first time on desk, so if you would like to do the honors.
I'd love to. It's Sports Night right now.
Welcome back to Sports Night. I'm Abriel, Siregar. Abbie, it's your first show. How do you feel?
I feel great. Last night was my first game. That went pretty well, so I expect the same tonight.
I love the confidence, and we will talk about your first game later tonight. But can I just say, it's a big moment for me as well. When I was a sophomore, the first athlete I interviewed was Pals Kunai Akpana. So going from one Northwestern Women's Center to another on this desk, I think it's full circle, and I absolutely love it. And Abbie, you mentioned that game last night. Why don't you fill in the audience?
Absolutely. My team, Northwestern Women's Basketball, took the floor last night against Lewis at home. Let's see what went down. Here we go. I'm ready to relive the madness. And we have the first play out. Sydney Wood pushes the ball and passes it to the sharpshooter, Veronica Burton. And that's a three-pointer, 3-0 for the Cats. Birdie Galernick going in and one. Here we go. Now we have Lindsay Polian pushing it up the floor. Birdie Galernick, that's 1 from 3. You'll see more coming from her. That is number 2. Can she go 3 for 3? Yes, ma'am. And finally, we have 4 for 4. Their bird was flying last night. Here we go. Now we have Birdie dribbling up the floor, back door to Sydney Wood, and she finishes it. And now I know that person. There we go, big post up. Nice job, Wolf. Running down the floor, that's me. Screen on both sides for Veronica Burton. Coming down, Lindsay Pullham. I know that's a bucket. Here we go. Now we have Kayla Rainey with the steal. You're about to see her on the show. She comes down. In for the and one. The bench can't get enough. Here we go. We call her Little Speedy. The Flyers had no answer for the Cats. Final score, Northwestern 89, Lewis 34. You saw them on the tape, and we're lucky to have the 2 freshmen with us tonight, Kayla Rainey and Leah Hartman. Kayla, I know it has not been an easy journey for you with open heart surgery under a year ago. How did you make that transition from the hospital to the first game at Welsh Ryan?
It wasn't that easy. It was pretty hard. I wanted to get back on the court really bad, so I kind of pushed myself to work every day, go to the gym, and ask my doctors how much I could actually do. So I came back a little early, 3 months after my surgery, because they said I was cleared. And so I played my first game last year in January. And my first bucket last night was similar to my first bucket in my game last year, so that was pretty cool. And I just came back. Even though I had a lot of injuries coming back, I still pushed myself and tried to get better for this season.
We were going wild during that bucket, as you could see. And Leah, how about you? Even without a serious surgery, it's not easy transitioning into rigorous academics and athletics. How has it been?
Yeah, I think that with the help of Northwestern staff, my teammates, coaches, I think that it's been a lot smoother than I expected, and I'm just excited to see where this season goes.
Great. I'm really excited to see you too, Leah. Last night you both came out strong with 5 points apiece, a few steals, and assists. What do you hope to bring to the team this year?
I just hope to bring energy and my defense and anything that can help the team out in any way.
That's why we call her Little Speedy. Your defense is great. And how about you, Leah?
Yeah, I want to be the most unselfish player on and off the court and work to help my teammates every day in practice improve their game.
Well, thank you. And finally, what matchup are you looking forward to most this season?
I don't know. I feel like I'm looking forward to every matchup this season because it's my first time and I feel like it's going to be exciting.
And you, Leia?
I would definitely say Michigan State because just from growing up like in the arena, basically like going to all the games in second grade, I always just wanted to play in that arena. So to that game.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll see you tomorrow in practice. And for the rest of you, you can catch us back in action this Sunday afternoon against Loyola, Maryland.
Yep.
The Northwestern women's basketball team definitely got off to a good start dispatching off Lewis. But how did the men's team do when they took on Quincy in their own exhibition? Let's find out. Miller Kopp started off the scoring for the Cats with a rainbow 3 and 1, getting 4 points the only way a basketball player can. Then AJ Turner throws a dart up to Jared Jones, and get the children out first, he brings the whole building down with a nasty dunk. Pete Nance now puts his defender in the spin cycle and hits a turnaround jumper to close the first half, Cats up 50-33. Cats were not without resistance though, getting a steal for a fast break layup, but Cats would not let up. Boo Buie now at the top of the key, snatching ankles with the behind the back crossover and puts up a floater to extend the Cats lead. And finally, on defense, Nance protecting the rim sends a shot the other way as the Cats win 105-64. Northwestern basketball certainly looked impressive against Quincy, and it would be understandable for fans to get hyped after this performance. But it's the hype real. Let's turn to Andrew Fenichel and Charlie Goldsmith right now.
Charlie Goldsmith is now joining me on the show, basketball reporter for the Daily Northwestern. Now, Charlie, off air, you told me you've never been on a train before. What's that about?
I mean, have you heard of cars or planes or boats? But I do appreciate a good hype train, so I'm happy to be here on SportsNight. Talk about this mode of transportation.
It's incredible, and a hype train is what we got. So we got a brand new game on the show, Hype Train. How it works, if the conductor of the train is a player you're hyped about this season, you jump on the train. If it's not, you stay on the platform. So first up, coming into the station, we got Boo Buie.
Boo Buie? I'm going to hop on that train right away. And what's interesting is it took Northwestern a minute to hop on the Boo Buie train. They weren't even sure who he was in the recruiting cycle until he played up against a 4-star prospect and owned him. They offered him a scholarship his senior season. He averaged 27 points, and now he's been Northwestern's best player the entire preseason. He'll pull up from 3 from 27 feet, throw a cross-court alley-oop, floaters, mid-range. He'll take the most shots per minute on this team. He's going to get the green light. He'll have his struggles, but he's a hell of a player.
His name is Boo Buie. How can you not be hyped about this
Boo
guy,
Buie.
okay? Boo Buie, you said the only player in D1 with the name Boo right now?
The person from Monsters Inc. still hasn't made it to the NCAA
That's
yet.
true.
But
He might need to work on his three-point shot.
Exactly.
But
What
a guy
is
that
this?
doesn't need to work on his three-point shot, Pete Nance, hype or
Pete
not?
Nance, I don't even need to go back on the platform. Pete Nance had a very difficult freshman season, lost about 15 pounds because of mono, and then admits he didn't get back to full strength. Now the coaches are planning to run the offense through him. I guess it would be my bet to be this team's leading scorer. He's a naturally unselfish player with an unbelievable pull-up ability from the mid-range, an excellent post player, and a really great player in the fast break.
It's incredible. I'm going to also jump on this train because you talked about Boo Buie being a player not a lot of Northwestern fans know about. I mean, the name Nance, NBA pedigree, this is a guy that I am more excited and more hype about than anyone else on this team, so I'm all aboard the Pete Nance hype train as well. And last but not least, as we go back on the platform and wait for our final train.
This is why people don't take trains anymore.
They're a little bit unreliable. But good old AJ Turner, is he unreliable this year, hype or not?
I wouldn't say unreliable, but AJ Turner clearly is in for a smaller role this season because Northwestern didn't have a point guard last year. He ran the show most of the time, bringing the ball up the floor. I'd say that this year, because of the guards Northwestern has brought in, he'll be in more of an off-ball role, which is great. He'll get shots from the perimeter. But I do think that there are other mouths to feed in the offense and that he won't get the usage that he had last season.
I mean, Boo Buie's on this team. How can you give the ball to AJ Turner? I will say, in a couple weeks, revenge game for AJ Turner at Boston College. I will be hyped for AJ Turner in that game. Fortunately, that is all the time we have here on the Hype Train with Charlie Goldsmith. Check out more of his work at thedailynorthwestern.com.
It's always great fun with Charlie Goldsmith and Andrew Fenichel. In their yearbooks, they must have been most likely to steal the show. But speaking of superlatives, our very own Davis Johnson and Matthew Coronado do their own high school themed preview of basketball season.
Welcome to a segment of Sports Night. I'm Davis Johnson alongside Matthew Coronado, and ahead of Northwestern basketball's first regular season game against Merrimack College at Wells Shrine Arena, we're going to take a look at some basketball preseason superlatives for the NU men's basketball team. Matthew, why don't you kick us off here?
Sure. Our first superlative that we're going to be looking at is the X factor for this team. And I think it's pretty clear that in this case, it's going to be the true freshman Boo Buie, who is a true point guard. He is coming out of the New York area. At the beginning of his career, or his senior year of high school, he was an undervalued recruit. But by the end of his year, he became the second highest rated in New York, and Coach Collins noticed. Boo Buie is a shoot first, ask questions type player. And Coach Collins wants that type of player to run the up-tempo offense he's looking to make this year. And so I would say that the X factor is Boo Buie's ability to contribute to the Wildcats scoring on a nightly basis so that they can jumpstart their offense this season. So for the X factor for this team, I'm going to be saying it's Boo Buie.
And to quote the great Dickie V, my diaper dandy for this year's team is actually true freshman Robbie Barron, the third highest rated recruit in Northwestern history per 24/7 Sports. He was rated number 94th overall in his class. He's 6'9", just a tick over 200 pounds. He's probably the most polished offensive player freshman in the freshman class for Northwestern. He can step out and hit threes. He has a good array of post moves. Obviously, he needs to get his way up a little bit to sort of play down low in the Big Ten, but I think he's the most polished offensively for Northwestern and the most ready to contribute as a freshman.
For the most improved, coming into this season, it's going to be Pete Nance, the sophomore. And last year, he averaged 13 minutes a game, had low scoring numbers, low assist numbers, but this year he's looking to take a bigger step and a bigger role in the offense and defense. We saw in the game against Quincy on Halloween night that he and fellow sophomore Miller Kopp both shared the most amount of minutes played in that game, and they both were effective on the offensive end. Coach Collins has said that Pete Nance has developed a turnaround jump shot for his offensive game, which has made him a more unpredictable offensive player, and he's also looking to become a leader on this team. So for the most improved, we're going to be saying it's Pete Nance.
Segment, check out our YouTube at NNN Sports. Coming up, we talk football, so don't go anywhere.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Cheers. Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year, 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 68. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Sports Night. The Northwestern football team is looking to bounce back against Indiana on Saturday night. Let's see what happened in Bloomington. Here we go. Cats lined up. Aiden Smith with the first snap, keeps it for himself, and takes it way past the first down. He has 20 and then isn't able to hold on to it. Indiana recovers the fumble. Indiana lined up in the red zone, looking for 6 more. Steve Scott III runs it in. Into the second quarter now, the Hoosiers pushing into the end zone again. Michael Penix Jr. muscles his way through. End of the second half. Looks like a normal pass, but the Wildcats may have something up their sleeve. Laterals back to Hunter Johnson until he throws it away to Alfred Bryant. End of the third quarter. Cats really need to make a stop to make this a game. Pass completed to Stevie Scott III, and he runs it for a touchdown without being touched. Well, a disappointing night for the Cats. Final score, Indiana 34, Northwestern 3.
They say when there's smoke, there's fire, and it seems like whenever I'm on this show, Andrew is always following me, but always nice to have you, Andrew Fenishaw.
It's my pleasure, Abriel.
Now, coming off the heels against the loss of the football team against Indiana, you came up with a segment called Trading Places, thinking about what other athletes on other teams could help the football team. So why don't you just get us started?
Well, look, I thought a lot about this question, and I attacked it from the inside out, okay? I thought about what does this football team need to get better? Well, with injuries to Bennett Skoranek and a few other wide receivers, I found the wide receiver slot. Enter Anthony Gaines. Anthony Gaines on the men's basketball team, 6'4", 40-inch vertical, and he played wide receiver in high school. I mean, you check it out. If you put him at X receiver, all of a sudden you have a downfield threat and a guy who can box out, throw a back shoulder fade to in the end zone. That's a player this team could really use.
That's a good one, Andrew. I'm looking at that quarterback position because obviously Northwestern's quarterback has been marred with injuries. And when they're on the field, they're completing 47% of their passes right now. So looking for a new quarterback, who has the best arm in Northwestern? I'm going to go with Danielle Williams.
That's a great pick.
Of the softball team, pitched 13 strikeouts, was the NFCA National Freshman of the Year, the first player in Big Ten history to win that award. When you're talking about arms, that conversation starts and ends with Danielle Williams. Andrew, what do you have last?
Well, I'm going to tell you a quick stat, okay? Among the top 50 receivers in the Big Ten in receiving yards, Northwestern has one of them. His name is Riley Lees. He checks in at number 43. Even with Anthony Gaines as our new X receiver, this team could still use some more receiving talent. I'm looking at that slot receiver position and thinking about a player on the women's basketball team this time who thrives in the mid-court, okay, with a mid-range game, none other than Lindsey Pulliam. So we have Lindsey Pulliam checking in at slot receiver. Yes, she thrives in the middle of the court, just like a slot receiver thrives in the middle of the field. She is incredibly gifted with her hands, okay, and if she's at slot receiver, can't really go wrong there.
I think that's a pretty fun list, but can I just say, if we're talking about trading places, who's doing better than Abbie Wolf right now hosting Sports Night? Abbie, back to you.
Thanks, Abriel. Friday night was senior night in Evanston for the Northwestern men's soccer team as they squared off against the Knights of Marian University. The Wildcats haven't been too prolific in the scoring department this season, but they wasted absolutely no time in getting on board in this one. Senior Ty Seeger found the back of the net in just under 2 minutes. 8 minutes later, Northwestern went up 3-0, courtesy of another 2 quick goals from Richie Bennett and Spencer Howard. Northwestern's senior night would only get better, as Matt Motterwell scored his 13th goal for the Cats before Ty Seeger, Bardia Kamavi, and freshman Vincent Castro added to the tally to give Northwestern a resounding 7-0 victory. Hosting a Big Ten playoff game for the first time since 2014, Northwestern will open postseason play against Maryland at Martin Stadium early Sunday afternoon.
The men's soccer team definitely ran circles around Marion, but they weren't the only ones running. Last Sunday, the women's cross-country team traveled to Columbus, Ohio to take part in the Big Ten Championship. The Cats struggled, however, finishing 13th out of 14 teams and 7.5 minutes behind first-place Michigan State. Senior Kelly O'Brien had the best day among the Wildcats' 9 runners, finishing with a time of 21 minutes and 32.5 seconds, good for 58th among 126 competitors. 4 other Wildcats finished in the top 100, including first years Abbie Osterland and Kaylee Bartolotto. If they make the cut, the Cats will travel to Stillwater, Oklahoma to compete in the NCAA Midwest Regionals.
Don't go anywhere. We're talking about volleyball and field hockey right after the break.
here is my handle, and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year, 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 68. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Sports Night. Abbie, how are you feeling with your first show coming to an end almost?
I'm great. You know who else is great? Northwestern women's field hockey.
Wow.
11th ranked in the country this season. Football wasn't the only one squaring off against the Hoosiers. Let's see how Northwestern field hockey did this past Friday on senior night. Indiana Hoosiers attempting to match up against the Cats, and they are off. Northwestern in the penalty corner. Lakenberry places it out, and Anna Medina Garcia puts it in the back of the net. Another corner, and this time it's Benty Bakers with the goal. And now into the third quarter, Cats staying aggressive. Lily Gandhi has the rebound, and Lily puts it in. Cats looking to extend on their lead. Now, Sar Debrige on the attack, passes it on the outside, gets her own rebound, and puts it in herself. It's 4-0 Northwestern. And NU has a chance to make the Hoosiers pay again. Benty Bakers gets her second of the game and 24th of the season. Now Northwestern really putting it away. Scrappy Kirsten Mansfield gets the rebound and puts it in. Northwestern wins 6-0, leaving their home field for the last time on a high note. Field hockey played in the Big Ten quarterfinals earlier today at University Park, Pennsylvania, as a 3 seed. They beat Rutgers, headed into the semifinals on Friday against Iowa.
While field hockey is thriving, Northwestern volleyball has been treading water in the shark tank that is the Big Ten Conference. After coming off a win to Michigan State, the Cats lost 2 consecutive games against Michigan and Nebraska, giving them a record of 10-15. To make sense of the madness, we brought on a special guest. Joining me now is our resident analyst and WNUR Sport play-by-play man, Pat Timlin, affectionately known as Showtime. Showtime, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal. You know, it is Showtime, so I feel like it's just right for me to be here.
I do feel the same way. Now let's get down to business. Last week, the Cats finally ended their 10-game losing streak against Michigan State. But what was the key? Why did they win that game in particular?
So I was actually on the call on that one for WNUR, and the difference in that game was the energy that the Cats brought. It didn't look great because they didn't have their star player, freshman phenom, Temi Thomas-Olara. And once that happened, you know, Mila Jasper and I were wondering what were the Cats going to do on offense. And it seemed like they just came out with the new energy that we hadn't seen all season. They hadn't won a game in the entire month of October. And then against Michigan State, they were really able to limit their errors. Typically, the Cats miss a lot of serves per game. They only missed 1, and they ended it with 5 aces. So first winning that service battle against Michigan State, you know, controlling the things you can, And then when the ball was in play, they didn't make errors. They continued to get the ball over the net and let Michigan State fumble around and not play a very nice, clean, just good style of volleyball. And if you play well on your end, most likely you're going to win the game, especially when you have players like the Cats do.
The Cats' success obviously was short-lived despite their win against Michigan State, because they went against Nebraska this past game, and it was a bit of a different story. What was the difference there?
Well, the difference was they played Nebraska and not Michigan State. Okay, Nebraska is ranked number 6 in the country right now. They were ranked as high as 3 early in the season when they beat the Cats at home. The Cats only scored 7 points in the second set. That's not going to win any volleyball game. But what they did do nicely was they started to have a little bit more of a battle between their setters, Peyton Chang and Kiara McNulty. They've been changing between the two, and it seemed like Chang finally won it, especially against a team like Nebraska, where they both saw playing time. Peyton Chang was able to sort of rise out of the game as a starting setter and should be moving forward.
Well, you talk about moving forward. What is going to happen moving forward? The Cats have a clearer schedule. Some of the weaker opponents in the Big Ten Conference. Can the Cats turn it around?
I totally think they can. There's a couple big games left, especially against Penn State and Illinois to end the season. But what the Cats have is, again, the bottom half of the Big Ten, winnable games, and a lot of them at home. The return of Sarah Johnson on Friday night was something that really started to shift the momentum of this team too. She came in, had 2 beautiful serves, and 3 phenomenal passes. Michigan recognized, okay, this is someone who hasn't played all season. She's got a brace on her knee the size of your head. And she just went out there and made plays. And it got the team all riled up, and now they're starting to rally together. When you start in the Big Ten 0-10, it doesn't look great. But now that they're starting to get this nice schedule, the team momentum is starting to get up. The return of Sarah Johnson looks like she might be a better passing option out of the back. Their services is shortening up, and Nia Robinson is starting to play like herself again from last year. The Cats should win some games late in the season.
Well, I'm sure the Northwestern fans are certainly hoping that will happen. If you want to see more of Patrick Timlin's work, you can go to WNUR play-by-play, or you can stay right here on SportsNight. Coming up next, it's everyone's favorite treat, Plays of the Week.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back to Sports Night. Abbie, we have Plays of the Week now.
Let's get right to it.
At number 3, we need to get a scientist. Is Bente Backwards a magnet for goals? I don't know, but that's her 25th goal of this season.
At number 2, we have a rally, Northwestern at Nebraska. And here we go, Temi Thomas will not have it. And that's Peyton Chang with the kill. The setter coming up strong.
And at number 1, teamwork makes the dream work. Good defense. Cats go on their fast break. Get the women and children out first. House is brought down by a Pat Spencer dunk. Thank you so much for joining us on Sports Night. Check us out on social media at NNN Sports. We'll catch you next Thursday.